Refugees are welcome here.
Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
Welcome Chesterfield to the demonstration. Whose streets?
Our streets.
Whose streets?
Our streets.
This is a more complicated one that goes like this. Auschwitz, never again. Auschwitz,
Never again.
Stephen Lord,
Never again.
Christchurch,
Never again.
racist murders,
Never again.
Tommy Robinson,
Never again.
EDL,
Never again.
BNP,
Never again.
Nazis,
Never again.
Hitler,
Never again.
6 million dead,
Never again.
racist murders,
Never again.
islamophobia,
Never again.
Auckland,
Never again.
BNP,
Never again.
Le Pen,
Never again.
ADF, Donald Trump,
Never again.
racist murders,
Never again.
6 million dead,
Never again.
AFD,
Never again.
National Front,
Never again.
BNP,
Never again.
6 million dead,
Never again.
Holocaust,
Never again.
racist murders,
Never again.
Auschwitz,
Never again.
Book of Rome,
Never again.
6 million dead,
Never again.
Tommy Robinson, Le Pen. There's too much more than 4 long list at the moment. Let's standing together in unity. Whose streets?
Our streets.
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 Whose streets?
Our streets. Our streets.
People need to go there.
Stephen Lord!
Also, woman there.
Islamophobia!
Never again.
6 million dead!
Never again.
Hitler!
People need to get video.
Mussolini! BNP! EDL! Racist murders! Islamophobia! Racist murders! Stephen Lord! Auschwitz! Buchenwald! Tommy Robinson! Auschwitz! Le Pen! Whose streets? Whose streets?
Our streets.
Right, so today for the protest I am here with
Tabitha.
right, and what is your involvement today in this protest?
We need the world to know that we will not stand up for Islamophobia anymore, and that our thoughts are all with New Zealand at the moment and the horror they must have gone through over the past couple of days.
It was absolutely terrible. What was your reaction when you first saw it?
Deep sadness that these human beings did this to a group of people they didn't even know, and they felt that they could have the right to go in and attack people in a place of faith and in a place of should have been safety.
Yeah. Do you feel that more people should take responsibility in making sure that the other people are safer, like more vulnerable communities that are safer?
We have to remember behind one bad person there's a million other good people, and we have to remember that the good people will win in the end.
Well said.
Thank you.
That is very well said. And do you think, if there's anything that you have to say to racists and fascists, what would you say to them?
Say, learn your history, learn why people are here, learn why people do what they do, and then you'll realise that we're all exactly the same.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, of course you can add to this.
And if you have the courage to profess you have no interest in education, then you really are below any other species of animal, and you're really doing discredit to being given the human genome, and you're a misrepresentation of the rest of humanity. You really should think about it, that is, provided you have something in power left to yourself, and possibly get a little bit of education. It might be something you find that it is actually enjoyable, instead of being an absolute sad case, a pathetic existence of a life that is not only meaningless, but that you also feel the right to go and disrupt a million other people for what reason? None other than your pathetic, meaningless existence.
Right.
That is directed to that fascist. You know who I'm talking about.
We do. Thank you so much for all of your time.
Thank you so much. Delighted to see so many people here from all across the UK and a massive range of progressive organisations. Thank you for being here on a cold Saturday afternoon. I've travelled here today from Manchester, and yesterday there was all sorts of people at mosques and places of worship showing solidarity with the Muslim community. And you might have seen a viral photo of a gentleman which said on the placard that I'm a Christian, but I'll keep a watch whilst you pray, because all of you are my friends. So it's very heartwarming and touching to see so many people here and so many people in places like Sunderland, Manchester, London, all across major cities supporting our friends and comrades in the Muslim community. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about the deeply disturbing and racist attacks in New Zealand, and it just highlights the very nature of what the movement is facing, which is white nationalism, white supremacy, and the ideology that several organisations and mainstream politicians and media channels are portraying. And we need to do more, and it is so nice to see people here from different trade unions, different political parties, and different solidarity organisations.
So today I'm here with
Sagal Mohammed. Yeah, I came out really today to stand up to racism, fascism, especially in the light of what happened yesterday in New Zealand. This demonstration was already planned because it's a UN International Racism Day. But obviously what happened yesterday made it more vital that we all come out to stand up against these evils in our society.
So you spoke about what happened at Christchurch the other day, and how did that make you feel when you heard the news?
It was very shocking, to be honest. As a Muslim and as somebody who obviously live in the Western Hemisphere, it's scary to see such a thing, but at the same time we must unite around the values that unite us, such as tolerance, freedom of expression, freedom of religion. We have to understand that Western countries have signed up to UN conventions to take in refugees, and therefore is a legal requirement. It shouldn't be a political ball game.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have anything to say to any fascists, if you could say something to a racist?
I like to appeal to them and reach out a hand of love. I like to make them understand, if anybody's out there who have extreme views, whether they're fascists or whether they're on the Muslim fringes, I like to invite them to go to the communities that they have issues with and try to speak to people, try to understand their way of life, culture and religion. I think that will broaden their understanding.
And do you think that has the racism if you've experienced any personal racism, do you think it's increased in the past couple of years, or has it gone down?
I think there's been a lot of progress in many fronts regarding racism and racism legislations, but however there's a rise of far rights, and I think this is due to the rhetoric of politicians and media being anti-migration and anti-others. I think that's very unhealthy for any society, and I think we must all come united around the issues that unite us and give us stable societies.
Yeah, we should all come together, because honestly, it shouldn't be happening in this day and age. It's not even there shouldn't be a debate. No. It shouldn't be at all. But thank you so much for your time. Have a good time with the march.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm here with Simi. Right, and we're going to talk today about the protest. And what is your involvement today in the protest?
My involvement, basically, I'm going to march like most people here. March, stand up, protest outside of Parliament.
Right. And what do you hope to get out of the protest today?
Pardon?
What do you hope to get out of the protest today?
Hopefully people will start listening. They already know what's going on because of the events that happened yesterday. Hopefully they become more aware over why we're doing this. And it's not just an issue here, but it's an issue in other countries across the world, as we have already seen.
Yeah. So you spoke about the Christchurch event that happened. What was your initial reaction for when that?
Initial reaction, I definitely was sad. I was, and at one point I just broke down in tears because I felt awful for the people that are affected.
All right. And do you have anything that you would want to say to any racists or fascists if you could have the chance?
I do.
Right.
I wouldn't know where to start, but there probably are things that I want to say, but I just have no idea how to put it into words.
That's okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. So have a good time at the protest.
James Mitchell from Unite the Union.
Right. And what is your involvement in this protest today?
I'm an EC member for Unite the Union. I'm a bus worker, and I am a black worker, a British person who's proud to be British, and looking at the homophobic, the racist problems that we're having in this country, and the Islamic problems, and we need to eradicate it as best we can.
So you've said that earlier that you have seen so much that has happened in London over the years. Do you think that it's getting better?
There are parts that got better, but after Brexit has caused us a problem that has opened Pandora's boxes, I would say, and it's allowed these fascists across the globe. We've just seen it happen in New Zealand. And it's disgraceful. And please, can I say my respect and my love to the people of New Zealand and the Muslim people of New Zealand. They don't deserve to, to be going through that kind of travesty that they have. So, from Unite the Union, our respect to all the families in New Zealand at this present moment.
So, do you think that Brexit, as an institution and as something that's going on, is dividing everyone?
Brexit is the cause of this negativity of today. Although a lot of the negativity was always there, it was always in the background, but as I said, Pandora's box is now reopened, and people think it's okay to be homophobic, and racist in today's market.
Yeah, all right. And do you have anything that you would want to say to any racists or any fascists?
Listen, we're all in this world together. We can't change how the world reacts. But you know what? Colour, creed, sexuality, race, it's irrelevant. What we should be fighting is the 5% of this nation who are taking us to the cleaners and making what we believe the working class into a slave market. We need to change that, and that's what we need to be fighting for. Colour shouldn't be a thing. We should all be working together to make sure we have a good unity in the world today.
Cameron Matthews from the Fire Brigade Union.
Hello. And I want to ask you what your involvement in the protest today is.
Yeah, certainly. So we're here as the Fire Brigade Union. All of us are frontline firefighters, and we're affiliated to Stand Up to Racism. So the reason we've come today is because every day our firefighters are out there saving people's lives from fires, car crashes, all manners of emergencies. And we do that regardless of people's race, religion, sexual orientation or sex. We're a humanitarian service, and what we do is protect our communities. So anything which is going against that, any narratives that are poisonous, toxic and are trying to divide our communities, we're vehemently against. So we're here today to show our solidarity with everybody who's in our communities, and we're also here today to make a very clear statement that we are not tolerant of racism, and we're going to stand up to racism.
Right, that is incredible. And what would you want people to understand and achieve from this protest?
So I think the key thing for this protest is seeing that there is a solidarity across the working class communities. As you can see, there's people here of all sexes, all races, all different backgrounds, and it's great to see everybody here together with one voice saying that they are not prepared to see the poisonous narratives of the far right in society promoting racism and fascism. So the best part about today is getting that solidarity of community, getting together and being very, very clear that all of us represent the working class and not just those handful of people who are on social media trying to poison other people's mindsets.
And it's really interesting that, it's also coincidental that this event is happening a day after the Christchurch attack. What was your reaction when you first heard about that?
Well, it's absolutely horrific. I mean, 49 people killed, 48 people injured. I think the youngest casualty in that was a 2-year-old child. I mean, it's utterly appalling. As the Fire Brigade Union, we would condemn any attack on the communities. It's absolutely horrific. And I think that makes it very, very clear what poisonous narratives can do in radicalising people, turning people into terrorists. And that's why today is so crucially important, and the timing is so fundamentally important as well.
Yeah. And do you have anything that you could possibly say to fascists and racists if you had the chance?
Well, I think the thing is that why? Where has hate gotten you? What positive influence has promoting hate and division in community benefited their personal lives? All the people out here today are spreading the message of love and community and unity. I mean, I would say to all of those people to really think about what they're doing and get together, join everybody who's here and stand up to racism, oppose the narrative of those small people who are on the margins and don't listen to their poisonous and toxic vitriol.
A really good message. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a good time at the protest.
Thank you. Enjoy.
The Fire Brigade Union. And I say incredibly important because when we look at the horrific events that we have witnessed this week, we have been left in no doubt how important it is for a global anti-racist movement to organise and mobilise against the politics of the far right. And that is exactly what you are all out here doing today by turning up. And I am proud to be here marching with you. And if you look around, you will see that there are many FPU firefighters here today. And there's a reason for that. Because firefighters help people. Firefighters protect our communities. All of our community, regardless of race, regardless of religion, regardless of place of birth. So these poisonous and toxic individuals and groups on the far right, in fact, embody the exact opposite of everything that we as firefighters stand for. So we will march today, and we will march every day to continue spreading that message, because now they claim to speak for us. They claim to speak for ordinary working people. So we are here today to send the clearest of messages that the racist right in no way speak for us, they in no way stand for us, and they absolutely in no way will intimidate us. So we will continue the tradition of the firefighters and the workers that come before us, who had a proud history of refusing to be intimidated, of standing up and defeating racist and fascist bullies. And by all of you guys turning out today, from across the movement, teachers, firefighters, train drivers, postal workers, we are very publicly rejecting their hateful and their dangerous message. And we are sending our own strong message. And that message is this, that their hate isn't welcome. It isn't welcome in our workplaces, it isn't welcome in our communities, and it isn't welcome on our streets. And we will be there every step of the way to oppose them. And we will win, comrades, like we always have, because there are many, many more of us than them. So have a fantastic march. Solidarity.
Thank you. And our next speaker is here representing the Justice for Grenfell campaign and the Grenfell Trust.
49 people have been killed while they are praying. Why? Who is accountable for this? As my neighbour Loki said at our silent march on Thursday, Grenfell is not just about some Muslim people living in council flats somewhere. Grenfell is about systemic failures. Corporations who prepare to actually put dangerous cladding on buildings to vulnerable people. We're talking about government ministers who actually prepared to actually deregulate. We're talking about the same government ministers who refer, like Amber Rudd, who refer to people like Diane Abbott as being coloured. We're talking about the same ministers who, when there's a call for inquiry into islamophobia in the Conservative Party, says refer it to the Foreign Office. There has been too much of othering of communities. There's been too much of a hostile environment. And this has impacted on the way that we are able to fight for justice. But we stand strong, people. We stand united. And the reason that our community, that North Kensington, that Ladbroke Grove, stands firm is because of our history of fighting against racism. We go back to the fact that we have the carnival that has brought communities together to celebrate our rich heritages. So I call on you and I thank you for all your support. I thank you for all coming here together so we can actually say we are not going to allow racism to actually divide us.
I'm here with...
My name's Don Locke.
Pauline Corder.
Right, and I just wanted to ask you guys, what's your involvement today in this protest?
So I come here as a Unite Housing worker, under the Unite Housing Workers branch as the political officer. I'm also a European activist, anti-racist activist and housing worker.
Right, and your involvement today?
Very involved with European, the anti-Brexit movement. And I'm terribly, terribly fond of people, and I don't like racism one tiny bit. I hate it. We are all the same people. We are humanity. There are no differences. It's ridiculous.
And what do you think the impact of Brexit has on the people, and what do you think it's done to the communities in the UK?
It's brought racism above the surface and made it like it's licensed it. That's the horrible thing.
So what
I'm sure it was always here.
It's been a huge shift in the Overton window of what's socially acceptable.
Yeah, exactly.
Things that would have been unacceptable 5 years ago are now being tolerated in the British press. I don't know if you saw the Daily Mail front page where they were astounded that a little blonde boy could do such a terrible thing, as if his race and his colour and the fairness of his hair would make him less likely to be a terrorist. Right. Essentially, it's an otherising of people of colour, of Muslims, of anyone who doesn't constitute what they consider to be racially acceptable in this country.
Yeah.
And Brexit, as well as the rise of Trump, Alternative for Deutschland, National Front in France, and a number of other far-right parties are going to be capitalising on this. So it's our obligation to be here today to stand against racism.
Yeah. And so do you think that with all the shootings that have been happening, all the terrorist attacks, do you think the government needs to do more to make them realise that this is a community that needs to be stopped, and it's not that terrorist has no religion, it has no race?
No, they should be stopped, and they will be stopped. If we can only stop Brexit, they will all be jailed. They're frightened of riots. Well, if they riot, then we'll put them in jail, and they'll soon go back to their sofas.
What's your reactions and opinions to all of the recent events that have been happening? So there's Christchurch, there was the anniversary of the shooting in the American high school. What was your reactions when you first saw them?
Horror.
Pain. Absolute despair to see people, innocent people who are going to prayer, be slaughtered in the most innocent and vulnerable time of their life.
Yeah, same. Apparently, when the man went in, before he started shooting, he asked, there was a Muslim who was at prayer, or was in the doorway, and said, "Welcome, friend." And he shot him. He was the first one to be shot. I was nearly in tears.
Whether it be the attack on the mosque or the attack on Muslim women on a daily basis, we must stand united, because together we are stronger. And there was a quote by Angela Davis, who once said, it's not enough to be a non-racist, we have to be anti-racist. And I think this demo is very much what it is. We have to mobilise on our streets, our local communities, our workplaces, universities and schools, coming together and creating an atmosphere where racism is no longer acceptable. Yeah, what was quite interesting was how, like, the MPs and people in power weren't saying we need to crack down on terrorism and these acts and so forth. When they do, like when it's a Muslim person who carries out those attacks, we have to say, like, these people are being motivated by the language and the culture used by those at the top, and we have to stand very much against them. And I want to say thank you to everyone coming down today in solidarity. So cheers. Brilliant. Perfect. Thank you, neighbour.
Amanda. Right, and we are going to speak about some of the issues that we're tackling today in this protest. So what's your involvement today?
I wanted to come along and support and just show solidarity. I just feel like, community with like-minded people wanting to stamp out racism, fascism, show the world that actually, there are good people that are, all for inclusivity.
Yeah, so you talk about community, so you believe that everyone has a responsibility to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's the only responsibility. We are a human race, not divided by anything other than the fact that, not divided by anything, and actually it's about, living with communities that believe, that have the same ideals, allowing. No one should be able to live no one should have to live in a war-torn country. Nobody should have to
and no one
have
should
their
have
own
to.
human right, have their human rights denied. It's kind of like everyone on this planet has a right to, to live. Yeah.
So a lot of people are talking about the Christchurch event that happened recently, and it's really important. It's even more important now that this is happening. What was your reaction when you first saw the news?
Absolute disbelief, shock, upset, outrage, all those things. Just horrific, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I think London as a city is doing. Do you think it's doing well to fight off racism?
Yeah, obviously there's much more that could be done. But I think things like this, marching and kind of showing as a collective how people feel is always inspiring and uplifting.
Whose streets?
Our streets!
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 On national television was an absolute disgrace, and it shows that some people in this country in positions of authority are still set, their mindset is still set back in the colonial times where there was the master-servant mentality. So it's absolutely disgraceful. And I'm ashamed that this person is in the British cabinet. I'd just like to finish off by saying austerity politics has decimated our communities, and it specifically impacts women and people of colour. So it's our duty to politicise more people and stand up against race and hate. And thank you so much, and solidarity from Labour and Momentum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Navendu. I'd now like to welcome our next speaker, who is here from the Muslim Council of Britain National Council. He is also co-chair of Stand Up to Racism. Please give a warm welcome to Tala Ahmed.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I stand here today with a broken heart and a profound sense of sadness. Sadness not because 49 people died, of course it's tragic, but saddened because the reasons that led to this massacre, those reasons still exist. And the people who peddle hate, they don't seem to have learned the lesson. Only this morning, I was on CNN and I saw President Trump, dismissing that the threat of far-right white nationalism apparently is exaggerated, not a grave threat. I'm saddened because our Prime Minister, I haven't seen her in a mosque. I haven't seen her going out into the community. I haven't seen her committing to ensure safety and security of the Muslim community. I'm saddened because too many of our media still fails to recognize that what happened in New Zealand is a terrorist act. It's not just any odd shooter who happened to go on a shooting spree. It's somebody who planned and targeted Muslims at the moment of their most sacred moments, when people would be devoting to God. But I'll finish you with this. Our movement is not about showing outrage against incident like that in New Zealand. Of course we're outraged and we are angry and we are saddened. But our movement is a fight.
Blaze Singh from Make a Difference Entertainment. So I'm here representing MADE, and we're here with our group from Films for Change and Rainbow Film. So we're hoping to try and increase understanding about racism, and just coming to an event like this, just showing up and showing our support, I think is a great thing. And for the young people who are involved in filming and participating in this event, I think it's about for them opening their minds, broadening their horizons about the racism and some of the challenges that we're going through in society. And ultimately, we're trying to really get our young people to practice and become really great filmmakers and really great presenters as well.
Do you have anything to say to any fascists or any racists out there?
Really start living with a more open mind. You want to try and embrace other cultures and other people.
This agreement in 2016, the US is putting immigrants in cages as we speak. If US really cares about human rights, it should stop this hideous practice right now. Racism and fascism are on the rise around the world. Meanwhile, Donald Trump affirms he cannot see this rise when interviewed yesterday after the shooting in New Zealand that left 40 people dead in 2 mosques. We want to live together in peace, respecting each other. Racism and fascism don't have any validity because they don't accept people who think differently. Fascism is death, is destruction, is hatred, is fear. We say stop Trump insidious ideology. We say stop white supremacy, stop racism, stop fascism. Together we can defeat them.
Thank you so much for that.
We've seen that from the new century that it has revived again. We are witnessing a rise in far-right terrorism. These far-right extremists are terrorists and they're attacking innocent Muslims. In fact, some politicians and section of the media, they blame Islam and the religion of peace for inciting terrorism. I want to say that terrorism has no religion, and this is what we've seen in New Zealand. So all of us, we need to come together to fight against the terrorism, extremism, racism, fascism. Together we can, if we unite and we come together, we can defeat this fascism and this kind of menace in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Dilwar.
We will not let people peddle fake, whether it's Theresa May or anybody else. But what's so great is you stand here today in this freezing weather, but so many of you have turned up to tell the whole world that we will not stand for hatred and we will not stand to be divided. We are united, we are together, and together we will take the fight to the hate mongers, racist, fascist, and xenophobes. Thank you very much.
Okay, our next speaker is Dilwar Khan. He's from the East London Mosque. A mosque that has a history of standing up against the racists and showing solidarity when anyone is attacked. So I'd like to involve Dilwar.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all, brothers and sisters. It's nice to see everyone gathering here today to defend our rights and to fight against extremism and terrorism and racism. I'd like to start by remembering those victims in New Zealand. It was an evil and horrific act. It has happened in New Zealand.
Love and prayer and unity. These are people I am proud to share a country with. Tommy Robinson, not so much. And I'd like to say as well, the response I personally got from the Muslim community when I was over in Luton with the journalist Mike Stewsbury, you may know. Mike Stewsbury got a Tommy Robinson infestation in his house. Nobody wants that. Yes. And when I was over there on Friday with Mike and his wife, the police had not come despite a knock-on ankle. There's MP.
We will fight and fight and fight again until we have beaten harm and high ideology and all of those who subscribe to it too. So today, as we reflect on the tragic events of yesterday, let's just once again come together. Because what has really struck me is the decency of ordinary people across the world. In the last 36 hours, the solidarity that has been shown to the people affected by the brutal murders in New Zealand yesterday by ordinary people has been incredible.
Hi, so I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Karina.
Hi, I'm Zoe. What was your involvement today?
Well, we got invited by community groups from Tottenham. We're actually a Camden residents, but we've been dumped sort of in the ghetto by Camden Council. But basically, we were based in France, she's still based there, and we were architects here helping to build this country for years. We didn't like the way we were being treated or the way in which our home was taken by complete fraud. We went to court and even got it back, but two racist judges 2 days later took it back again from us. And then banned us from British courts for 2 years. And we literally said, flee persecution, because our mortgage was overpaid. The other side even admitted it after possession, of course, not before. And we took it to the judges and we could get no justice. And we thought, this country is heading for trouble. Let's get out.
So what are you hoping to happen after today?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's very important marches like this, because there is a situation, please forgive me, that is beginning to boil over, both on personal level, and then if we see what is happening politically with Brexit, and then if we see what is happening with organised crime, as you can see with the attack on the mosque yesterday. So things are coming to a very serious point in history.
So do you feel like Brexit has made things worse?
Of course. Because I've been in France, I have watched how Brexit has eventually incited racism across the board. Both here in the UK, it has affected even the behaviour of the British Embassy towards immigrants. It is rather British nationals who aren't white. So everybody has jumped the gun to assume Brexit is already here. They're acting as though Brexit is here, it's already wiped away the rights of what is technically non-white British citizens are being deprived already before Brexit of their rights. They're not even waiting for Brexit. So if Brexit has already had this effect, how bad is Brexit going to be? It's going to be totally out of control. Like I said, as I have experienced, we've been robbed in the UK, we've been robbed in France, I was battered in France, I had no protection, no human rights, I've then been physically robbed, and as you can see from the picture here, they've now set on fire. We were persecuted and forced to live up in a mountain. We were persecuted, we were renting property, we were persecuted by the whole village. The police did nothing. We had to stand up against racism in France, in a whole village, and the whole town literally declared war on us. We had to stand up then. The persecution was bad. We went up to the mountain, and look at the mountain. They've set fire to 3 tents and my caravan and robbed us. And the police won't even allow me to file a report. Even when I called 999, they said, you don't speak French, and they cut me off. I called the British Embassy, please call 999. British Embassy refused to help me.
I believe in the story of Abraham, and people need to be educated in terms of, they don't have no faith because no one's educating them. We actually use stories from the Bible and stories which are also in the Quran, like of Abraham. God told him to leave his country, leave his father's house, and go to another country. And that whoever bless him will be blessed, whoever curse him will be cursed. And guess what? The whole village started to turn towards us. We divided between the good people and the bad people. They started to bless us because they don't know any better. We showed them that Moses was married to a black woman, an Ethiopian. It's in Numbers chapter 11. We showed them different things from their own Bible that they're not following. That Christ said when he comes again, I was a stranger, you did not take me in. When I come and say, I don't know you. So your salvation depends on how you treat strangers. They say, oh, we didn't know. We went to Mary Le Pen. She came to my town, and I found I was the only person demonstrating. I couldn't believe it.
Usha. So I'm a student, and I'm a member of the Bristol branch of the Socialist Worker Student Society, and also Stand Up to Racism. So basically at the demo today, we've just been representing Bristol students and also trying to represent Stand Up to Racism too.
So what are you hoping will come out of the rally today?
Well, numbers. So clearly today and across across the world. The protests are actually just showing how united we are, in spite of all the divisions and polarizations that are quite prominent across the world.
And what are your thoughts on the sort of recent hate crime, the rise in hate crime in the UK?
Yeah, well, it's obviously very disappointing to know, but I'm actually not unsurprised at all. Institutional racism across the world, within all structures of governments, is really prominent, and it has affected so many people's lives throughout history, and it's built on colonial legacies, and it's built on imperialism and nationalism. And the fact that we've had these recent events doesn't surprise me at all, but it really disappoints me. I just really hope that in the future we can actually combat it.
Do you feel like Brexit has helped fuel the increase in sort of outward racism?
Well, yeah, that's the thing with Brexit. It's such a contested concept at the moment in politics generally. So, if anything, I think it's just created more division between like social classes, genders, ethnicities. If anything, it's encouraged people to be more racist, and I think that it's inherent within even the fact that the European Union is like inherently quite racist. It's quite, interesting.
So I'm sure you've seen the events in New Zealand recently. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm really saddened by that, and I'm glad that so many people today have proved that we just won't tolerate it anymore.
So if a fascist was watching this, or a white supremacist, what would you want to say to them?
If a fascist was watching this, I'd say I'm sorry that you're not on our side.
Sophie. Right, and we're going to talk about the events that have been happening recently and just opinions on racism. So what are you here to do in the march today? What's your involvement?
I'm just here to stand up against the current horrible environment for people from different backgrounds and to do what's right for the country.
Yeah. And so what do you think you're going to hope to achieve from this today?
People being united and making progress with love instead of hate.
My name is Jamil.
Right, and we're here talking about all the protests today and what's happening in light of all the recent events. And what are you here to do today?
Basically, we are heartbroken because of the New Zealand, what happening there. In the New Zealand, 2 mosques, there is a far right fascist people. They attack to the Muslim people. So we don't want any more to the attacking or any individual groups. So that's why we are here to protest for the racism and any unfair or injustice. We are here for this.
And how does that make you feel? All of the events that have been happening. How does it affect you?
Basically, when we are living in a first world countries, we want to live in a peaceful. We don't want to be anyone, any community, any other peoples to attacking each other. So that's why we feel anyone attacking on a minority or anyone, we don't want to be, we want everyone to the fair, living in the community as the same brotherhood. So we want to help each other, but that's why we are here to stand together, united together, not for the racism, not for the islamophobia. That's why we are here.
Harjeet. Well, I'm here today to show my outrage at the racism and the fascism which is increasing globally. I feel sorrowful today after the events of yesterday, and so it's affecting my mood here. Obviously, it's far more sorrowful than it would be, but yes, I mean it's disgraceful for the politicians, the media, the language that they use.
You think it's gotten worse?
I do. In what sense is it okay for Boris Johnson to say the things that he does? Comparing women who wear hijabs to letterboxes, the other so-called funny comments he makes internationally, making Britain a laughing stock internationally. What a foreign secretary that we had. It's disgraceful.
And do you think that by this protest, what do you think people will have learned from the unity that they're seeing today?
I hope so. I think we do feel unity when people are together. People are stronger when they are together. I wish more people were here, obviously, but everybody here is representing other people as well. Direct protesting on the streets isn't for everybody, but there's a lot more people who believe in anti-racism and anti-fascism than are able to come out and protest.
And so, you know, the events that happened the other day, the Christchurch thing, how did that make you feel when you first saw what had happened?
What can you say? I mean, it's so sad that human beings, humanity, are reduced to such behaviour. I feel so strongly for the Muslim community. I mean, the banner I've chosen today is no to islamophobia, no to war. The levels of racism and xenophobia, Islamophobia has just increased.
Yeah, because it's the government that you feel that people in power are enabling this.
Yeah, completely. I mean, again, what do a lot of governments work for? They work for profit as well. Why did the American government go into the Middle East? For oil. Yeah, veterans who have fought in the war say they weren't there protecting people. They were there fighting for oil, protecting the oil drilling machines and mechanisms that the West took over. And so it's utterly disgraceful, utterly disgraceful. Why isn't the media, why are the powers that be not calling out Steve Bannon? Steve Bannon, who was there with the Trump campaign, his strategist, leading the Trump's march into nationalism. Bannon is now in Europe, yes, organising the right. And look what's happening all across Europe, the rise of the right wing. Why is that not being called out in mainstream media?
It needs to be called out more and it needs to be talked about more.
It really does.
Yeah, that's why this is happening today. But thank you so much for your time. What did you think of the event?
I thought it was really good. There was a lot of people, a lot of chanting. It's been very cold though, so I think the turnout would have been better if it was better weather. I didn't see any really media outlets. I really missed them. But an important event like this, Stand Up to Racism, you'd think there'd be more media here, right? But I haven't seen any. But it's been good. A lot of people, a lot of different views. I think it's really timely, especially because of the current events that just happened in New Zealand. And a lot of the politics right now in this country, it's creating a lot of division. The independent group, Brexit, the anti-Semitism, being called a funny tinge and coloured. So yeah, this is exactly what we need. We need more of this.
We've got loads more content for you to enjoy. Just connect with us on our social media and be one of the first to catch it. And if you want to see more, why not click on one of these beauties? You've got one over there and one over there. Come on, make your mind up, it's not that hard.